That was the warmest winter on Earth. But fortunately, the atmosphere has this wonderful capability, even after things look absolutely horrible, that we get 2002, 2003. And I know it started with December 5th, December 25th, January 3rd, Steve, February 7th, Corey, Press Day 2, late in the month, March, April. I mean, this had stuff starting in December that went into April. To me, A plus.
Yes.
You know, New England got it, New York got it, Mid-Atlantic got it. We're happy.
Albany got it.
I thought I would get away with it. And in the book, where in the last book, I don't have these as moderate snowstorms. Here's December 5th, 2002. A little low moving off the coast. It's got a snowfall distribution based on inches. Some of you are familiar with my scale. Large 4 to 10 inch event with just a couple of areas that got 10 inches or more. You know, sort of classic confluence zone, but a weak short wave. It was sort of damping out as it came east. Not a big storm. December 25th. Mungo. This also will be a featured storm in the next volume. West of Albany, 40 inches of snow. It was a nice band with that.
You know, in that storm, that weather spotter in Hercules was 7 inches in 1 hour. The man just set up west of Albany, western Catskills, with western Adirondack, and picked up 7 inches of snow in 1 hour, and I think like 14 in like 3 hours.
3 hours. Now we're talking. So as you can see, lots of circles. I like those. No big high. And it was just a case of a amplifying upper level trough that just formed a little hole in the ground. So in the evening, with that massive developing 500 millibar, 700, 850 in the surface, moisture was just sort of spinning around. And yeah, on the west side. And it scored pretty well. This was very widespread and real heavy snow across portions of New England, even though for the most part there wasn't the super snows across the megalopolis. It was all to the northwest. To hell with the megalopolis. And then a week later, I didn't like it. Here's the snow. It's all away from the coast. Yeah, it's Albany again. Yeah. But it did happen a week after another big one. So yeah, that's pretty exciting.
We already had our seasonal snow total in Albany after that third storm.
You're bragging now. And I know there's someone back there, I mentioned you by name before, who seemed to like this storm quite a bit. And I remember with this particular storm on February 6th and 7th, it reminded me a lot of December 5th, but it had a little extra boost at the end there. There was this nice little mesoscale band on the northern edge of the precip. Jerry, Massachusetts. Did you have a good time during this one? February 7th, 2003.
It was a great storm. I'll tell you a little.
I know you were talking there. I just want to make sure that you were paying attention.
The great part of that storm was that, again, it was a great plus. I'm sorry, Eleanor, she's out. That's good.
Jerry, she's writing a letter to you.
Taunton just went, like everybody else, nobody could keep up with it, so they still had a forecast of 1 to 3. And my wife, who usually predicts.
They forecast 1 to 3? Anybody remember what I forecast?
My wife called me at 10 o'clock in the morning. She said, they're still saying 1 to 3, we're going to get a foot. We have 11 inches. That's a busty.
Well, you know that when there's 1 to 3 on a system like that, that's where I go. That's where my managers are going. Add extra value, add extra value. So, it's one thing where you're doing the same thing as the Weather Service, and it's great. But I'm not scoring any points. So it's like, oh, their forecast, I think I could do better. But I don't know if I actually did. And maybe it's a good thing that Eleanor's not listening. Right, Eleanor?
I'm sorry?
Never mind. No, it's quite okay. Oh, I'm sure I forecast 6+. I don't remember either. How convenient. But this will be another case on future. And even though it's basically what I would call like a moderate event with a local amplification in Eastern New England. Okay, this is absolute heaven. And after the disasters of 2000 and 2001, thank God we had a system like this. And it was classic and it wasn't classic. What was classic, it had that huge high pressure system. What was unclassic, the low pressure system was like, where is it? But it was such a long duration event with such cold conditions. As you remember, I mean, if you're not, again, this is, this score, out of all the storms, and I looked at about 80 storms where we actually computed the values, this was like the third highest rated storm of what we had, because there was 20 plus inches, 30 plus, in areas where a lot of people lived. So that score is pretty high. That's about as high as they get. Now, if you were down like with Dave, were you down in, okay, I wrote Dave, I was in Atlanta. Okay, feel better? No.
You got more snow in Atlanta than I did.
From this?
Not from that, from other winters.
I'm gone, I don't want this. And here's the setup. I think it's just a beautiful setup. I like drawing weather maps. Just, what's that?
What road is that? Any idea?
Oh, actually, it's actually, oh, I wasn't good here. That's a picture from 1983.
Yeah.
It's Long Island. Well, it's, I think, either the belt or the northern state. I think it's the northern state. Yeah, I'm usually pretty good. I usually put a realistic.
You were in Atlanta, you didn't have any pictures for us.
What's that?
You were in Atlanta, you didn't get any pictures for us.
I wasn't here. No, I have pictures. Yeah, as a matter of fact, this storm is depicted completely in this book. But what's this is very classic for a major storm. Just having this 1040 something high parked with a big wedge of cold air down the East Coast. And even having the initial low moving out of the Ohio Valley, it just, that looks great, all this warm advection, but it just never really predicted, 1,005 millibar low. Come on. But when you have such a large high parked to the north, you've got this tremendous and long duration influx of warm, moist air over temperatures that were pretty uniformly, I guess, in the teens. What a great setup.
Well, if the surface low was, let's say, even like it was supposed to, let's say it was 996.
Yeah.
Don't you be able to apply more warm air into the system on the coast?
Oh, as a matter of fact, I remember even forecasting for this, watching, and it did change to sleet. Sleet in Washington, D.C. The northern suburbs got like 10 more inches of snow.
But if it had gone to 996 instead of 1,000.
Right, that probably would have gone even further.
Yeah.
But there also could have been a wraparound that dumped another foot.
Yeah.
No, I don't have any problem with it. Then, hey, if you're going to get 2 feet, 2.5 feet, and the surface low doesn't really deepen, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Matter of fact, this is probably a good case if you're looking for, well, you got to have this, you got to have that. Well, you don't necessarily need a rapidly deepening low for these things. Sometimes.